It's the Marty Show. Hello and welcome to the Marty Show. I am your host, the Shaman. This is the second part of my Facsimile reprints overview. This time we're going to look at the Facsimile edition of Conan the Barbarian #1, and it is also appropriate to talk a little bit about Barry Smith, now better known as Barry Windsor-Smith, who penciled most issues between #1 and #24 and made a huge impact on the comic industry. He is known for his highly detailed artwork, although that wasn't so apparent if we look at the first few Conan issues he did, where he had more of a Jack Kirby-esque art style. But his artwork quickly evolved to a more personal and elaborate style, and within a few months, he had achieved an art style never seen in comics before. Smith quit the book and the comic industry after #24 was released in March 1973 because he was dissatisfied with how the comic book industry worked. Except for inking 10 pages of Jack Kirby's pencil work in 1976, he didn't return to comics until 1983. In the 80s and 90s, he went on to produce amazing work like the Machine Man limited series and some issues of mainstream comics like Fantastic Four, Iron Man, and Daredevil, but it is with Weapon X that he made his true comeback. In the 2000s, his comic book work became more sporadic. That is until 2021 when he released Monsters, a 366-page graphic novel that many call his masterpiece. But for now, let's go back to the beginning of his artistic journey and let's look at Conan the Barbarian #1, Facsimile edition. First, let's have a nice look at the cover. Conan the Barbarian #1, the Facsimile edition, The Coming of Conan. We see him on a battlefield screaming, "To the death!" while he's pointing his sword at an axe-wielding grunt and holding a spear up in the air. Here you can clearly see the Jack Kirby influence on full display. As you can see, up in the corner we have the modern Marvel logo, and the barcode is also a modern barcode. Everything else is as it was back in the day, aside for the cover price, which is $3.99 US, as you can see in the corner here as well. In any case, this is a very nice, iconic cover. It's been reprinted many times already in various iterations. And let's open the book. Here you can see some classic ads. You will probably see a bunch of those throughout, but we won't stop at them all the time. And the first page announces the coming of Conan. Come with us to the Hyborian Age. Come with us back to the dark centuries in which Conan lived. What is interesting here is that Stan Lee is credited first, if you look at the credits down below. Of course, as an editor. And following that, you have Roy Thomas and Barry Smith, which is a little unusual as far as credits are done in Marvel Comics. Usually you would have just the writer and the artist down there, and Stan Lee Presents would be clearly displayed at the top of the page. Also, it's important to note that this is based on the character created by Robert E. Howard. So Conan was a pulp novel character in the 1930s before becoming a comic book character. All that to say, Stan Lee didn't have anything to do with the creation of this particular character. Let's turn the page. This is where we get to meet Conan as he is fighting with other barbarians, and as he is fighting, he is threatening his opponent with a nice bit of long-winded prose. All that just to say that he is Conan the Cimmerian. He is a very young man in this story, and he isn't yet the massive brute of a man that we will all love later on. Conan notices that a single man is fighting 3 men at once, so he decides to intervene and jump off a cliff to attack the 3 men. We can already have an idea of what kind of man Conan is. Oh, Snoopy. Everybody loves Snoopy, right? And I'm sure everyone would love to have a Snoopy plastic model like that. Curse you, Red Baron. So Conan easily defeats the three dudes, but Olaf, the man he rescues, isn't that grateful. He's like, thanks for saving my life, but don't dare calling me friend yet. They overhear other men shouting. The men who attacked the man Conan rescued are fleeing, and Conan says, don't chase them. Let them run. Olaf is impressed by young Conan and tells him that he quickly takes command, but he should know that Olaf is the one who gives orders here. Conan joins him because he heard that his clan pays more gold than their enemies. Gold is the only reason why he's here in the first place. Speaking of the enemies, we get to meet Wolf, their leader. Wolf is wearing a wolf pelt on his head because why not? And more cool ads, including some cool looking posters with art by Kirby and Jim Steranko. Then Wolf and his crony find a hidden cave where they meet an old man and a young woman. The inside of the cave looks like a temple. The old man, Sharkosh, is known as the shaman. At least that's what he says. He is the guardian of the star stone, which fell from the sky many years ago, also according to him. Then Wolf makes a deal with the old man who requests him to bring him a young warrior captive, one with dark hair and a six-pack, preferably. In exchange for that, Wolf could become rich and powerful. He knows that one of his faux men would fit this description perfectly. The old man tells him that it concerns the beauteous handmaiden who sits beside him. Then the old man does some kind of incantation and the starstone begins to hum. During this time, Conan, Olaf, and his men attack the enemy clan in an ambush. But unfortunately for them, a bunch of bat-winged devils show up. After a very, very short fight, one of them kills Olaf. This pisses Conan off to no end, and so he jumps on one of the winged devils and they fly off into the sky, only for Conan to fall back down into the snow on a mountaintop. By the way, we rarely see half-page ads like these nowadays, but they were more common in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. Now you just wouldn't really see that. Conan wakes up and he's inside a cage with a young woman who calls herself Tara. She informs him that he is a prisoner of the shaman and that his powers derive from the Starstone, which foretold that he would be delivered to them. Once again, the shaman is at it with his incantations, and as he does so, there are some visions of the world that once was, including another Howard character, King Kull. It's just a little cameo though, and there's a very quick flashback to Conan's birth and how he grew up and how he will one day be king. And there's also visions of the future, which shocks the old man. Then, using brute force, Conan breaks out of his cage and throws the stone at the wall, which causes all hell to break loose. Maybe I missed something, but we don't really find out what happened with Wolf. But the old man dies in the fire and Tara shows her true form. She's actually from another world and looks like one of the devils. The old man wanted to turn her into a human permanently and allow her to live in this world via the ceremony of transferal. Unfortunately for Tara, things didn't really work out and she cannot exist in this form, so she vanishes and returns to her own universe, something like that. Conan leaves the cave, and although he had a preview of what the future holds, he lives in the now and goes on with his day. And this was the first issue of 275 in Conan's Marvel Comics journey. On a side note, the paper quality is amazing. In fact, it might be too good for the coloring job that was done here. And what I mean is that it looks a bit iffy in some places, but that's not the colorist's fault. It's simply because colors were designed with poor paper quality in mind. They've included a nice little map of the Hyborian age of Conan. And that's it, we're done. Thank you very much for your time, and see you again very soon.
Thanks for watching the Marty